Hey everybody, how's it going? So if you can tell by the title, you can probably tell that I'm going to talk in one way, shape, or form about bar girls. So, and whether or not you choose to date them or later marry them or marry them and then date them, however you want to work it. But what I want to do today is take all the emotion out of it and just give you a pragmatic discussion, talk about the little bit that I know after coming to Thailand for 21 years about some of the pitfalls that I have seen people fall into when marrying bar girls. Now, I don't want it to be biased, but to be honest with you, at the end of this, you're probably going to tell that I'm going to say that maybe it's not such a good idea. But who am I? So let's start off with the population of Thailand. And I hope to walk this through from soup to nuts, from beginning to end, in how these situations sort of grow and the guardrails that you can give yourselves, that in spite of whatever I've said, you can at least protect yourself both financially and mentally in the future should you just happen to fall head over heels and this one truly is different. So let's go with it. Thailand has a population of about 70 million people. Okay, that's great. So you think, okay, give or take, I think most people that have been around Thailand between Bangkok, Pattaya, Chiang Mai, Phuket, Krabi, Karat, we would probably not have a whole lot of disagreement in saying that there are about 1 million working girls in Thailand, or maybe not strictly working, but working on the side in the industry in some way, basically willing to sell some ass. So 1 million out of 71 million, 70 million people, give or take, that's only 1 in 70 people. But when you pare those numbers down a little bit more, there are only about 10 million women between the ages of 20 to 40 in Thailand. And so if you've got 1 million working girls, that means about 1 in 10 women between the ages of 20 to 40 are probably some way, shape, or form in the sex industry. So what does that mean? That means that the chances that you're going to encounter a working girl are pretty good. I'd say pretty darn good. And so let's talk a little bit about how this relationship develops. And here's what I'm going to do. Let's split up the classes. Okay, the classes of people. If you're Thai and you're from the educated class, then those numbers skew completely the other way. You know, I mean, if you're in the educated class, you've been to university and this and that and the other, you're working jobs, you're a banker, you're working other jobs, chances are you have nothing to do with the industry, okay? So I'm going to take the people, the makeup, the characteristics of those that typically hail from rural communities, such as this out here, more so from the area of Isan. Now, how do these relationships sort of, how do they start? So you may ask yourself, the first thing is in order for you to understand how you start a relationship with one, let's understand how does a prostitute come to be a prostitute in Thailand, okay? So the chances are good that she's going to come from a farming community. We've already established that. The chances are also good that she's going to be fairly uneducated. Now, the chances are also good that she doesn't come from a family of only girls. So that means right off the bat, she's considered a second-class citizen in her family and sort of luggage, as it were. I mean, that is just the way this culture is with women, that women are simply not as prized as men in this society. And the shame of it is I'll give you an example. We have a friend. She is she works in the trade industry with the shipping, DHL, makes good money. She's an executive. She living in a nice condo in Bangkok. Got her own car, a great lifestyle, quite the success story. She has three brothers who live in a rural community about 3 hours away by car from Bangkok. They're drunks. They really don't do shit. And you know what? Her vote in the family is number 4. Even though she basically finances a lot of what goes on in that family, and she finances a lot of what keeps them afloat, her vote and her opinion still ranks last in that family. That probably wouldn't be the case. So the only way that a woman isn't going to be a second-class citizen in her own family is if she comes from a family of all girls. And even then, what that really means is now you've got a family of second-class citizens. All right. So with that, what will probably happen in these farming communities is the families will say to the young lady when she's graduated from high school, the equivalent of high school, or maybe she hasn't done that. She just went to work in the factories. Her family is going to start nudging her to go to a city and start making more money. Now, they just say, maybe you should try Bangkok, try working there. And especially if she's a good-looking young lady. What they're really saying is, without saying it is, go to Bangkok and sell some ass. And then start sending money back home. Now, in the case of a lot of females, they will go work in a factory for 3,000 baht a month. Remember that number, 3,000 baht a month, and they'll send maybe, 500 baht a month home. But what the families really mean is go make some good money and send more money. And so these young ladies, they have been raised in a transactional environment. They know that their worth is limited by how much they can bring into the family. And then now they're being pushed into a very transactional profession. I will do this for you, you pay this for me. So what they do is they end up going there, making some money. You'll find them in Pattaya, Bangkok, and all the other cities. And you hear a lot about tourists or Farangs feeling like they're ATMs here. Well, guess who feels like they're an ATM in their own family? That young lady feels like she's an ATM because no matter what she does, she always has a family that can suck it all up. So she's in a never-ending cycle herself. So here are the telltale signs that a woman is working in the sex industry. Because a lot of you who will come to Thailand or you've been here, you're going to convince yourself that this one is different. And she may be. But here are some telltale signs that the girl you like is working in the sex industry. Now, these are not any one of these alone, standalone, does not mean they're in the sex industry. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm building for you is a profile of what typically are some of the common attributes of sex workers in Thailand. So let's go through. First of all, they can't read or write well. Now, you're not going to know that because you're not going to have them, you can't tell the difference between accents or anything like that. But what you can do is ask them about their formal education. You also, and I'll give the United States as an example, we could tell a Southern accent, or we could tell a Northern accent, or we could tell a Midwest accent. But when you come to Thailand, it all pretty much sounds like Thai. But if you're Thai, you know the different accents. If you're Thai and you're from here. And so you're not going to know really by how they talk what their education level is. So you're going to have to figure out, really by asking them, hey, what is your education level? Now, if they don't live at home with their family, okay, they're like, hey, I live here in Bangkok, or I live here in Phuket. Oh, where's your family from? Oh, they're from Isan. All right, there's another one. All right, maybe they have a lot of non-religious tattoos. I have tattoos myself, but then again, I'm of questionable moral character also. Maybe maybe you met them while they were working in a bar. Okay, if you met them while working in a bar, I mean, think about it. We call them bar girls. We don't call them prostitutes, but that's what they are. A bar girl is a prostitute, but it's a euphemism. It becomes a euphemism. I don't know what it is about from the time that we buy a ticket in our home country and we land in Thailand that all the universal truths of right and wrong and what is and what isn't seems to get thrown out of the window, and then we start saying, well, it's different over here. No, it's not different over here. Okay, so if you're at a bar in a typically sexually active area like Soy Cowboy in Bangkok or on Beach Road in Pattaya, and you meet her working in a bar somewhere, but she's not a working girl, she's not a bar girl, she's a bar girl. Okay? Trust me, she's a bar girl. And then here's another one. Does she have more than one phone? Okay, if she's carrying around a bag of phones or in her purse, she has 3 or 4 phones. Each one of those phones represents a boyfriend in another country that is sending her money. And they know, first thing they say is, when they get one of those boyfriends, get me a phone, so I know I can always talk to you. No, it's so I don't get confused which one I'm talking to. There's another thing. Okay, she never introduces you to any of her friends, or she doesn't have any friends, or it just so happens that all of her friends are bar girls. I'll leave that one for you to figure out. And then when you start talking about, this is further down the road hopefully, but when you start talking about marriage and stuff like that, and she immediately starts talking about dowry. Well, again, when you buy your ticket, you come over here, all of a sudden you change. My philosophy here was, I'm an American, we don't pay dowries. So when I met my wife, she was working, she was a dive instructor. We dated for a year. And then when she came to the United States, before we got married, I had her sign, we both signed a prenuptial agreement. And my wife had no problem with it because there was no end game for her. And we didn't do a dowry. In fact, it broke her mother's heart that I wasn't going to give a dowry. Although there's another story back there with her mother, which is a good one, and I'll be giving you later on down the road. But I didn't pay a dowry, and we signed a prenuptial agreement. In both cases, it was just this simple. Hey, babe, I don't really want to do a dowry. I just feel like it's too much of a transaction for me. It's just my culture won't allow it. First thing out of her mouth was, fine, not a big deal. Then the second thing was, not on the same day because I needed to spread it out, was, hey, you ever hear of a thing called a prenuptial agreement? She's like, yeah. And you talking about something like an agreement that, yeah. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Now, hey, I've been around, baby. I'm not going to have, I was 20 years into my career. She was 23 years younger than me. I've dated, I've been blessed enough to have some women pay attention to me. Very successful women, yada, yada, yada. And I tell you this, none of us has ever worked that hard just to fall in love with someone in just 1 year and then sign it all away. Well, that's just not what I was going to do. First thing out of her mouth was, yeah, no problem. Let's just go ahead and sign it. Now, The other thing is, if you start talking about visa to your country, now this is a big one because damn near any prostitute, probably 90% of the prostitutes in this country can still get a visa out of the country. It's the 10% of the prostitutes that have been knee deep in prostitution, maybe got mixed up in fraud or theft of Johns or whatever, you know. Now, which is a good point. If you're dating a bar girl, then you, by definition, are a John. Get over yourself. That's what you are. That is your relationship, okay? And then when you get married, you'll have been a former John, and she'll have been a former prostitute. But nothing's going to magically change just with marriage, and I'll get to that in a minute. So if she has trouble getting a visa to your country and convinces you that you need to get married here, then that definitely is a red flag. So now we've talked a little bit about that. So now let's talk a little bit about you. And when I say you, I mean, don't get it wrong. I may not just be talking to men here. I may be talking to women who are dating women over here. You know, you've got to be just as careful. You know, hopefully, you know, you didn't fall off the wagon this morning. Okay, so let's talk about you and some of what I've seen to be some of the makeups of people who fall for bar girls. The first is they never dated much in their home countries. Second is they never ever dated an extremely beautiful or successful woman in their home country. And so they're really not used to getting all this attention. And what I will also tell you is that you're not used to women paying so much attention to you as when you get here. If you don't have a shield up against all that stuff, you're a likely candidate for taking a fall with a bar girl. Now, if you have, take an inventory now, if you have a low opinion of women in your home country, you're susceptible to getting fooled by a bar girl here. And then, if you've never dated a woman much younger than you, then, you know, this is a country where age doesn't mean a lot. It's just a number, okay? So what I would tell you is be careful of that also. So that's you, that's their kind of makeup, and that's your kind of makeup. So now, how do you build guardrails if you decide, fuck it, I'm still gonna marry this girl because she's different? Okay, let me just simply ask you this. Would you marry a prostitute in your home country? If the answer is no, then again, on that plane ride over here, universal truths didn't change. They remain the same. It's not different. It just looks different. And the reason why is because prostitution in the United States, it seems like it's much more transactional. You will pay me, I will have sex with you. It looks like sometimes it never even gets out of the car. I mean, you don't even take them to a hotel or anything. But in Thailand, they not only take care of your physical needs, they will take care of your physical, your mental, your social. You want a buddy to go eat with you, just pay them. You just have to pay them. They will go to dinner with you. It is a 100% escort service. They will have fun with you. You will forget to pay them at times because you're like, oh, I forgot, I'm a John and you're a prostitute. But we had such a good time. And I just told you my innermost secrets and shit. Now I'm thinking, well, I just bring you back to my country. I almost said the States, but it could be any country. Well, I just bring you back to the States and we'll get married and have a family. Let me tell you something. They're transactional. They have developed a transactional basis to their life. It is ingrained in their genes, man. I'm telling you, it's tit for tat. But the way they see tat is tat can be everything. Tat can be helping you work on your car. Tat could be helping you garden. It could be any number of things. You are paying for time, and however you spend that time with them is up to you. And so they see it as, if you're paying for them to hang out with you at dinner or have sex with them, it's 6 1, half dozen the other to them. Okay? Now, that's why keep that in mind. Now, they're never going to give up their Thai boyfriends. So if you've come to Thailand and you've developed a woman with a bar girl, with a prostitute, she has Thai boyfriends, or at least a Thai boyfriend from back home. She's sending him money. Remember, she's a second-class citizen. It's expected that she should send him money. And so you will never know what's going on because you don't speak the language. This is a country where almost everyone will know your business except you. Like, I live in a small town here, right? And I see foreigners come through here. When they're with some of these women, I know that those women were former prostitutes. Why do I know? Because I got a gossipy ass wife and gossipy ass relatives and shit when it comes to this here. Because things change here. When my wife and I are in the United States, we don't come in contact with, nothing against prostitutes, but we don't just come in contact with prostitutes, not knowingly. So we don't have those kind of conversations, okay? So keep that in mind. Also, you should ask them questions just like you would ask any man or woman questions if you were dating them in your own country. Well, why haven't I met any of your friends, player? Why haven't I, why didn't you go to school? Why are you here? How long have you been here? Trust me, just asking enough questions, they're really good at making sure all the edges and squares match up together. But I'll tell you, you'll see some cracks in them, if that's the case. Now, I've already talked about the topic of dowry, but let me bring this home. If her parents are really hard put for you to pay a dowry, it's because they see her as an ATM. And one thing for damn sure is they're not about to lose that dowry and take the chance of you taking her to another country where they don't see a steady stream of money. Now, so they'll probably try to convince you, hey, why don't you get married here? It's just the same. Yeah. Why would you ever want to get married in Thailand? Why the hell would you ever want to get married in Thailand and think that that's a guardrail or some prohibition to you not being taken for a fool? My wife and I, we got married at Clayton County, Georgia. Or was it Fulton County? Sometimes I forget. I'll have to look. We went to Fulton County first, and then we got married. No, we went to Clayton County first, and then we went to Fulton County. We got married in Fulton County, Georgia. And I have no desire to have any sort of every once in a while I say, hey, why don't we have a little ceremony here, sort of like, next month is our 15th anniversary. We'll have been married 15 years. We'll have been together 16. I always tease and say, maybe we should have like a little, sort of something with the vows or something in a kind of a tie, with a Thai themed, celebration or something. But that's as far as I go. I have no illusions that anything I do here legally in Thailand is going to stick, because hypothetically it will never happen. I said it'll never happen, but hypothetically, if my wife left me and I went down to the police station and said, my wife left me, she took the cars, I can't, she has locked the doors to the house, I can't, they will laugh at me. They're like, well, it sounds like you made some bad decisions. But they would say that in Thai, but you get the idea, okay? So keep that all in mind. So basically, later, I will start to give some horror stories about people. Now, I don't want to dissuade you even from marrying a bar girl. But I want you to be able to do it knowing, you know what? When I was messing around with some bar girls, I still to this day have some of them find me on Facebook that have gone off and married Americans. They find me on Facebook. And how they do it, I don't know. But, because sometimes I didn't even use my real name back then. They'll find you on Facebook. Pictures of the kids and everything. What you want to do with me? I was little more than a fling, you know, because in that Thai community, and I talked to one former bar girl. She had some of her bar girl friends that worked at the same bar with her right there at Fort Riley, Kansas, working with her in a nail shop. How they pulled that one off, I don't know. Right there in Fort Riley, Kansas, just outside of Fort Riley, Kansas, in a nail shop. All the little Thai girls that used to work in a bar and patio, not all of them, a couple of them, worked in patio and now working in a nail bar. And then you reach out to me, hey, what are you doing? Man, hey, I've moved on. You know, this ship has sailed. So anyway, I really am just saying all of this to say, you do what you're going to do. But I'd have to be honest with you. There's no upside to marrying a bar girl in Thailand. You will come here and you will think it's different. You know, it starts off with you sending them money. It starts off with you getting involved with them and stuff. But let me tell you something. There's a couple of scenarios. First of all, one, you're not living here. You're only coming back and forth, okay? Well, you're being scheduled. Let me tell you something. If you ever call a girl and you say, hey, I'm coming to Thailand, and she says, oh no, don't come during this time. It's not a good time. That right there is, she ain't penciled you in for that time. She's already penned someone else in for that time frame. That right there. There's nothing that happens in Thailand to where a woman wouldn't be happy that you're coming here to visit. And if that ever happens to you, that's not a red flag, that's a red line. If you say, I'm coming to Thailand, and she says, I won't be available, I don't care what job they have. They're going to be happy to see you. They're going to make it happen. They're going to work around it. They're going to work double shifts. They're going to do whatever they need to do to make sure that they can spend time with you. Unless they've already penned in another job. Okay? That's a red line. But outside of that, you're going to have to make your choices. But what I'd like for you to do, if you want, I've already received some comments on my other, you know, I don't want to get into some argument or just some lower level discussion. If some people are really concerned about, their situation or something, and if there's something I can, just give you my 2 cents worth, I'll be glad to do it. I'll be glad to help you out. I'm not here to preach to you. I'm just saying that you make a decision. There's 2 kinds of decisions. There's an informed decision and there's an uninformed decision. And if you make an informed decision about the person, because do we ever know anybody? I mean, come on. You brought your ass to Thailand. So, hey, he who is without whatever sin cast the first stone, right? But you don't want to get yourself into a situation where you think anything over here is any different than anything over there. Okay? All right. Until next time, I really appreciate you watching and thank you for subscribing. Bye.